See what?
The intro song.
I saw it for like 3 seconds. Yeah. Then you kept
Yeah,
shutting
and
it
then
off.
it went
Oh, you
off.
shut it off because you couldn't see it?
Yeah, it wasn't like active. Yeah.
Yeah. It must be that glitch where it makes me look invisible for a little bit because it was going. You could run it, and then
Okay, I just got a notification on my phone that we're live. I'm gonna hit the button. Let's see what happens.
Yo, are we
Good.
working? Are we live?
We are.
Is this thing on?
Mm-hmm. It is.
Good. I can hear you too. Don't worry. GM guys. Sorry for the delay. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Don't know what was going on. I'm glad everybody else could see the countdown. I could not. I had to wait for the little pinging to let me know that we were about to be live.
Yes, and you are blank right now, but that'll correct itself in 15 seconds.
I know you typically have a couple issues with Restream a week. The first one I've had for a long time.
Yet we persevere.
Yet we survive.
Mhm.
Wednesday. What's going on? Wednesday, December 7th. What a day.
Well, you know,
It's bleak out there, is it?
bleak. It's not even price bleak. It's volume bleak. Like the next major move in coins is going to be 10 or 20% in either direction, just because that book is empty. With Alameda no longer making markets, markets are not made. They are violently fit. Like, I am talking, if you are doing tiny ass orders, tiny ass micro orders, $1,000, $2,000 buys, sells, whatever, you're not even getting the price you're trying to buy at. You're moving price with those little fucking orders. It's crazy out there.
I am market mover.
Not in Ether or Bitcoin, of course,
No.
but in alts. You shouldn't be moving alts with a $2,000, a $5,000, a $10,000 order. Crazy. Crazy.
What else are we
So,
talking about here?
Well, because the thing is, if even if you're like, all right, I'm just going to capture these little 5-10% moves that are happening all the time. If you can't do it with size, and again, I'm not talking about you, me, and the average Muppet trading small amounts. If the big boys decide, well, I can't trade size, so why should I even trade? There goes your volume. There goes your market. So that's really where we are right now. Is none of the, and we're not even talking like the real big money. The medium money can't even get in there and trade properly right now. So yeah, if we get some sort of exogenous news event that's positive or negative, we will be ramped or tanked in either direction. But it's crazy how tight this range is and how bearish people get at 1240 and how bullish people get at 1290. And it just shows how tight, how tight coins have been. And last night we got back to 1290 and everyone was bullish. And I said, enjoy the bullishness until the stock market opens tomorrow. And here we are back at 1240. And I'm sure by tonight we'll be back at 1290. And it'll feel great. It'll feel great. There'll be nothing to do about it. It'll feel great.
I just want to feel great.
You had your great. The market said you had 4 years of great. It's time for 86 years of bad.
I had 4 years of great.
You had 4 years of great. It's all.
No, I was all in on crypto.
Crypto.
Oh well.
We all need to get a crypto.
Yeah. Hey, look. Market go up, market go down. We do survive.
Market go up.
Not right now.
Oh. I don't even remember what it feels like.
Well, you call me a long-term Larry, so yeah, market go up.
Leonard,
Leonard. Long-term Leonard.
Yes.
Long something.
Yeah, all the guys were like, oh, I don't care if it falls to 10,000, I'll just buy more. It's like, yeah, I don't know what kind of duration your life has, but I would prefer things.
I would like to enjoy my life now.
Right. I'm good. Yeah.
Well, you know what though? That is the that looking like a college skater boy.
A handsome college skater.
Well, I'm going to take that as a compliment. My short-term goal in life is to get ID'd one more time buying alcohol. I don't think it's going to happen.
Hasn't happened for me in a long time. This is my own art, Archivo. I made this. I made it using
in Dolly.
yeah. I made it using artificial intelligence, but yeah.
Hey, art's art, man.
Boy, I am so sick of the artificial intelligence discussion. Like, people are obsessed with this CPT,
Bro.
chat.
It's like you're such a hipster. It's like once something goes mainstream, you're like, yeah, fuck it. I'm surprised you even like Ethereum.
I can't help it. But look, it's my trading style too, isn't it? I hate anything.
Yeah,
I love the stuff everybody hates, and the moment everybody loves it, I hate it again.
It's true.
No, I am a
crypto hipster.
Yeah. And I am a Christmas nut. I love Christmas. And this was my attempt at creating...
Christmas isn't too mainstream for you?
No. In fact, there are so many people that hate Christmas that it gives me just enough motivation to love it every year.
Why do people hate Christmas? I mean, I get that you can like dislike the corporate push, the takeover, but yeah.
Life is about extremes, and Christmas is the greatest joy a human being can feel. unless something goes wrong. I am very sensitive to the fact that tragedy doesn't have a calendar. Tragedy can happen at any time. And if you have some tragedy in your life that you associate with the Christmas holiday, or you enjoyed your Christmas holiday with your family every year, and then all of a sudden you don't have that anymore. I mean, there are many reasons to be jaded. I don't even knock people. I understand how extreme the holidays are in both directions. It's either the greatest moment of your life or it's the worst moment of your life. So I get it. Right. I know how hard the holidays is for a lot of people. I'm sympathetic to it.
For sure.
Yes, as we should.
It's coming up quickly. What are we at? 18 days left until Christmas?
Hey Siri, how many days until Christmas?
18 days until then.
That's what I just said.
But she said it so much better. No, you were right. 18 days. Can do the math. Oh yeah? How many days until Easter, R2?
138.
Hey Siri, how many days until Easter? God damn you, Apple. I'm going full Android after.
Did you mute it because you knew I was right?
No, it didn't even respond to me.
I'll ask again. I'm right.
Hey Siri, how many days until Easter?
It's 123 days until then.
123.
Oh, that was a good guess.
Yeah, it's a leap year. You couldn't.
No, it's not. Okay. All right. What's going on, guys? Welcome to 173 episodes of the AM show. I do have a hard cutoff time of 11 today. I got to go get somebody poking at my teeth. That's going to be fun. I hate the dentist. You know what? Actually,
dentist. I didn't know who was going to be poking at your teeth or with what, but luckily we.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. No, you know what? I actually don't hate the dentist as much as some people do, but it's not like an enjoyable experience. It's just so fucking expensive, you know?
It is. That's one of the, I have a few people in my life. I wouldn't even call them friends, but from afar, I saw them become dentists and they live charmed lives. There's a reason for that.
Well, I mean, the dental industry in Canada is not part of public health care either, right? So
it's also like you're like 99.999% of the time, you're not diagnosing anyone with anything deadly. You cause some pain, but you're there to fix. Like, it's one of those doctoring things that it seems like if you were going to be a doctor, dentist is the best choice. Just my opinion.
Well, you remember, were we doing the AM show yet when I had my wisdom teeth out last year?
Possibly.
I can't remember. It was in the summer. It would have been right around the time that, I don't know. Anyways, man, that was the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. Not the process of getting them out, but like when they decided to like tell me that they wanted to come out, I was like and I like just I had that moment of like, how is this? You know, we cover everything else in Canada in terms of health, right? No, you want to fix that problem, which is the most excruciating pain I've ever felt. Yeah, it's gonna be $3,000. Perfect.
Biotechnology. There'll be no more root canals by 2030.
True.
Or-
Well, that might be aggressive, but okay. Anyways, 2030 is soon.
Is biotech attacking the oral industry right now? I feel like it's more worried.
Everything, man.
Yeah,
Everything will. Yeah.
They started with profitable things and work their way down.
True. All right, let's pull up the screen. I didn't even have my screen shared. All right. Well, as Free Market mentioned, it's bleak out there. Volume has dropped, and so has crypto. What are we at? Just 1230 right now on ETH. 1680 or no, 16,840 on Bitcoin, and there's a lot of red. On the 24-hour. On the week, most coins are still green, but just barely. So every all those gains we saw over the last 7 days are being given back in real time as we speak. The S&P kind of doing the same thing. Oh, it's back to even on the day. What happened there? Just a big dump yesterday or last 2 days?
2 days in a row. And the indexes do not reflect the pain in individual stocks. A lot of times I'll say the opposite. And I'll say indexes didn't reflect the good in you know, you'll see stocks go up a lot and you'll be like, huh, indexes didn't really budge. That's weird. This was the opposite. You know, I had talked about the last pullback or two we had in markets. They were extremely orderly and mechanical. And what that means is that while there were segments that were pulling back, that money was being rotated into other sectors, okay? When you see pullbacks in markets, you're looking for where is the money rotating, okay? The one place you don't want it to be rotating is out. That's what we call liquidation. And the last 2 days, you would be hard-pressed to find any sector with green on the chart. And that's what's been alarming. S&P, only really down at 3950 here. I mean, remember, our lows were 3500. We have still come way off the panic lows of October. We got up to 4100. We're still, you know, a little bit over. We're not that far from there. It has just been stark. The amount and the breadth of stocks going down, and that's worrisome. That felt like a change of character. Remember, this year has been defined by when markets go down, everything goes down, and it goes down a lot. What you want to see to say, oh, the bear market is over, is pullbacks like the couple we just had. Orderly, people rotate into other things, indexes pull back, but they don't breach major support. In 2 days, we have breached 2 major support levels. So it's worrisome. Right now, the S&P is at its last major support band before it flips short-term bearish again. It's trying to hold. We will see what the day has in store, and if it can hold, even a bounce here doesn't make you feel great. We're in neutral territory right now, and either side can wrestle it back, and quite frankly, the news flow has been terrible for bulls. And what that means...
December as a season is not particularly bullish either, right?
So December tends to be weak starting in the end of the first week and lasting through the end of the second week. So it's about 10 days of bearishness. Then it gets bullish again. This is lining up perfectly with seasonality as well. There are a lot of signs here that this is just a pullback, yet at the same time, the breadth and the amount in which certain bellwethers of the market and certain stocks that had performing very well have fallen have taken people by surprise. So it feels bad. Now, my contention from the beginning was we needed a sentiment reset. You know, after Jerome Powell's speech last week, people threw in the towel. I saw people who were vehement bears on my stream saying shit like, well, I think the general direction is going to be up for the time being. You know, there's nothing we can do. Jerome is getting dovish. They're about to slow the rate of increases. Inflation is dying. The problem is we got a very strong NFP number on Friday. And That narrative could have gone either way. People could have said, oh, wow, the labor market is maintaining strength even in the face of all this. The economy is great. Or you could spin it as, man, labor is too strong. The Fed is going to keep raising until labor calms down. But think about it. The Fed just a day before, Jerome Powell was as dovish as we've seen him since they went nuclear on rates back in August. And every speech since August has been more hawkish than, surprisingly so, even surprising bears in how hawkish it's been. It was a complete change of tone last week. He was literally he was dovish without being directly dovish, and he didn't walk it back. In fact, the things he said in the interview afterwards almost confirmed that stance. So if the big fear from a hot jobs number is the Fed's going to get more hawkish, well, I think the Fed is already signaling they're getting dovish. And remember, the Fed doesn't do these things overnight or hastily. It's based on months of improving data where you want it to improve. You hear the term soft landing a lot. What is a soft landing? It's where the Fed can raise interest rates to kill inflation without killing the jobs market. And right now, the bears wrestled the narrative away, mainly because sentiment had completely flipped to one side of the boat. We needed it. In fact, as bullish as I've been, the last 5 sessions I've been saying, look, I think stocks may not reflect what we're seeing here. Watch dollars and bonds. And dollars and bonds continue to reflect a risk-on environment because of all the reasons I just said. Then we get this hot NFP. Sentiment is all on one side of the boat, and whack. And here we are. Now, crypto, coins, it's hard to say they're even reacting at all. We have been in a $50 range on ETH for a long time. Barely breaking. Every once in a while we'll dip below 1240. Every once in a while we'll pop above 1290, but the majority of time we stay in a 1240 to 1290 range. It doesn't seem to care what's going on with macro. And I'm not saying that's bullish or bearish. Like I said, the next move in coins is probably going to be 10 or 20% violently in either direction because there's no liquidity on the books. And I will say this, I don't really have a read right now, which is usually bearish because I'm a permabull. So when I don't have a read, it usually means things are going to go down. Okay. But the other thing is the longer we just meander here, just like I said a few weeks ago before we had a mini flush and then rebounded back, the longer we meander, the more chance that the next move is down. So this is what's getting me kind of, weirdly cautious here. Yet at the same time, I think any breach under 1240, unless it's from exogenous news, like a new bankruptcy, new contagion fears, Genesis actually going under, Grayscale scandal, unless it's something like that, I think it would probably be a brief dip under the range to liquidate everybody who's leveraged within the range. And then it goes right back into it. So macro is shaky right now, though right at support. Let's see if it could bounce here. Crypto has been in its own world, which is a tight, maddening range. I guess if you could look at one maybe bullish thing, it's that alts continue to behave relatively well. Even in the pullback yesterday, and when we've seen ETH pull back to the lower part of its range, alts have either not gone down as much or even gone up in the face of ETH going down in that range. So maybe that's bullish. We're still kind of in the midst of a mini alt season, but it's very hard to think that this could become anything real when there's nobody big even willing to play the game.
Yeah, it does seem all quiet. But as you kind of mentioned too, tis the season, right? People have a lot of other stuff going on. And I mean, I don't know if the World Cup plays into it at all. But again, if this is all attention based and whatnot, this is a pretty bad time for all things, right?
Believe it or not, in traditional markets, there's something called the World Cup volume suck. And people know that when you have events like the World Cup, a lot of volume is going to leave markets, traditional markets, not even crypto markets. So it's not surprising to see that. How close are we to the end of that, R2? Are you following?
I think we got about 10 days left.
10 days?
Yeah, but I mean the volume of games is slowing down. I think today is the last day for the first round of the knockout phase, and then it starts to slow down from there. But yeah, it's been fun to watch nonetheless. Good
Just
tournament so far.
some country already. Can't we just
What's
pick it
that?
out of the hat? Do we really have to watch them?
Now that the US is out. All right, what else we got to talk about? Blur. We'll briefly talk about Blur. Kind of having their first big gaffe. Blur quickly became the exchange darling of choice for everybody. Great analytics tools, all of that good stuff. And of course, with the airdrop and the incentivizations, almost like the challenges they have. The latest one had been to put in bids, right? Bids within a certain percentage of the floor, provide liquidity. I like the bid function too. I think that was a good thing that OpenSea added, but they kind of messed something up on the back end of code where, I guess, as it turns out, if you put, if you're like, for instance, this one, if you put a bid of 0.70, but you didn't put 0.70, you had to put the 0 first. If you didn't put the 0 first, the decimal was not recognized, and then you put in a bid of 70 ETH. Well, this person clearly had a lot of ETH in their wallet. They put in a bid of 0.7, was it? 0.7 on Art Gobblers, which probably never would have been accepted. And they bought an Art Gobbler, a floor Art Gobbler, for 70 ETH.
They must have typed 0.70, right? Because otherwise,
well, that's right. Yeah, like some people do type the remaining decimal points as well, right? Like,
yeah, I don't think I mean, you could have just done it, not even thinking. Like your brain just does it automatically because you're like, I'm gonna bid 0.70, and your brain just does it. Like,
yeah, well, when you're constantly thinking in like 2 decimal points or 3 decimal points, you typically do fill them in with zeros. At least I know I do. I know that it is completely pointless and irrelevant, but it's not like that extra keystroke is gonna save me a lot of time one way or another. So it is just force of habit. Like if you're 0.75, nope, want to change it to 0.73, like then you do 0.70. So anyways, I don't know what the recourse is of this. That like this is one of those times where this isn't a bad user error. This is like purely on Blur. So, is it refund time? I know that sometimes we're against refunds of like, oh, you participated in the hack, you signed away all your NFTs, blah, blah, blah. Kind of on you. It's kind of what Web3 is. A faulty UI, not so great.
Well, I don't think that the authorities should come in and have this person's money returned, nor should there be a regulatory framework that allows that to happen.
Correct. Yes.
But I do believe Blur, as a private for-profit company trying to present themselves a certain way within the NFT world, it would behoove their business to give this person their money back. It has nothing to do with decentralized or not. It's just if you're running your business in a way in which you would like more customers, I think you probably should say, wow, we pushed an update that we did not see this bug. We really fucked up. Here is your money back, and anybody else that was affected by that, we will return your money and the bug is fixed.
That's not a small amount, though. Like that's
it isn't. No, it isn't. What I mean, come on.
Like even 7 ETH, I could see a company being like, yeah, okay, here you go, 70. Wow.
Well, I mean, but like, why has Blur, shot to the top of favorite marketplaces for people? No, obviously the airdrop, but number one, you would say the user interface. They've been billing themselves with this great traders tool, by traders, for traders, best UI in the game. We actually care about NFT. It literally, what was supposed to be your strength has now provided you with your first legitimate scandal. So I think you have some house cleaning to do here, including paying this person off.
Paying them. I don't think it's paying them off. I think it's paying them back.
Yeah, but it's a decentralized world. There's no law that says they have to. You're paying them off so they stop complaining.
Yeah, true. I guess technically the law. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not even going to go in that direction. But
I'm
This
not a
in
perma-
this regard, in this case, it would absolutely be the right thing to do. So
I'm not a permabull, but I play one on Tweevee. Get it? Tweevee.
yeah, you're reaching. If you're using Blur and you're participating in this, I mean, I think that this would be something that would be quick to fix, but just be careful if you're placing bids on there. Put the 0 point whatever bid if it's a under 1 ETH bid.
It's funny because there's I don't even know if it's a glitch or if they want, there's a reason they want you to do it. But on KuCoin, if you're placing limit orders for a coin that's under $1, it's the same thing. You have to put in the 0. The thing is, it won't go through. It'll say like, that's not a valid amount. It's not like it goes through anyway. I mean, that's obviously the egregious part here. The problem, but it's interesting to me that is there like some sort of technical thing on the coding side that makes zeros and decimals like a pain in the ass or something? And like, if you don't say that you have to type the 0, it breaks a bunch of other shit. So you have to, I don't know. I just thought it was an interesting similar situation on KuCoin there.
I don't have enough experience programming to answer that question, but I do know that there is a lot of specificity involved,
and I will say this right now.
Small mistake can have big implications.
And I will say this right now, and I'm really only repeating what Foo, you guys don't know, Bitcoin Panda 69, but Foo was basically like, obviously none of us could know what's going to happen. But if KuCoin manages to make it through this cycle and continues to be operational and solvent, these guys are the darling of this. I mean, they've now made it through 2 bear markets. KuCoin. We don't know. Look, guys, I would say what we have reiterated on this show for weeks, never keep more than a couple trades on any of the leverage sites until we get more clarity into which ones are solvent. Right? Until we get past this phase of contagion and exchange, don't keep any amount of money on these exchanges. That said, KuCoin, seriously, like with all the rumors that were surrounding it, all the attempted bank runs, there's been 3 where there were rumors that KuCoin was insolvent and people were like, oh, go withdraw your money from, They did that with FTX and it worked. So far with KuCoin, they've managed to make it. Man, if they make it through this cycle, just hands in the air for KuCoin. But let's see.
Yeah, KuCoin's been around since I've been in the game. Binance was like really on the big uptick at the time. That was the one that was like really coming into play. God, I wish I had loaded up on Binance Coin back then, but whatever. And then, of course, like a Coinbase, but like I remember like Bittrex and Poloniex and Quadriga, which was the Canadian one that was fully like just mired in scandal and fake deaths and all of that stuff. A lot of fun. Quadriga was the first big purchases I made of crypto, but I did transfer it out so that I could participate in the shitcoin race, which they did not have a lot of. So yeah, crazy times. But KuCoin definitely seems to be solidifying itself as one of the safer ones. But again, as we constantly say, unless you're trading actively, that's the only crypto you should be keeping on an exchange.
Yeah, see, like just because we love KuCoin so far doesn't mean they can't go tits up at any time, and only keep a couple bets on there in our home.
Yeah, and I mean, like if you looked at me and were like, you have to keep your coins on an exchange or something, my gut would be to say, do it on Coinbase, but again, that's if you have to.
And if you are in the United States of America, you are insured up to $250,000 with Coinbase. So you on their, like, if your account is compromised, I don't know that you're insured. Like if you give maybe you are. Yeah,
I'm gonna shut my mouth. Did you see Steve Aoki is starting a punks group?
A punks group.
Yeah. Is it? I never remember how to pronounce this guy's name. Threelau or Blau? Is it Blau?
Blau.
It is Blau. Okay. Yeah, Steve Aoki.
I guess I don't understand. Like, all right, explain it to me. Because who cares that everybody in the band owns punks?
Well, I think it's just like the branding of it, kind of like those. I mean, these guys are obviously completely doxed, and you know their personalities.
Right,
Whereas
right.
like the Bored Ape group was more of just like that is their personality. But you know, I don't know, whatever. It's kind of like to me, it's kind of just like the Gorillas, right?
Right, and I guess also like Major Lazer or A-Track.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
But like Steve Aoki and Blau
right.
are oh yeah, it literally says Justin Blau. Like are forming a group of which they didn't have before, and it is, you know, punk themed. So that's pretty cool. I mean, the Bored Apes are always getting their nod, and all these big branding deals, and the beer, and the
Hmm.
you know the burger places, and all of that stuff. It's good to see some punks getting some love in that regard too.
I don't know. It seems kind of daft to me, but we've seen Daft Punk
Ah,
do well in the past. So
man, Daft Punk is so good, so good.
yes.
But yeah, I mean, it's not like they're not promising like any NFT utility or anything like that. But I just thought it was a cool article that was like, you know, kind of brings me back to the fun times in NFTs where like all these exciting, like kind of trivial things were happening, but like they were fun to talk about. You just don't see that much anymore. Right now, it's all like, you know, who's committing fraud, what exchanges are going down, who fucked up. It all seems to be bad news. This just kind of a fun little thing that people are still doing stuff that are
Well,
NFT centric.
the band itself may not have announced utility, but if you want to be in this band, you have to have a punk. So there's some utility for punk. Now you also
I
have
don't think you get automatic entrance into the band if you're a
No,
punk
it's
holder.
not
The band's gonna get really big really quickly.
Yeah, but what if you're like, you know, DJ Dylan Francis or Deadmau5, and you're like, man, I want to be in this band, but wait, I can't get in unless I own a punk. See? So the punk has utility for those who can use the utility. It doesn't mean that, you know, your musically non-inclined ass is going to get into the band because you own a punk. It just means that you must have a punk to be in the band. All widgets are gears, but not all gears are widgets. You understand?
I get what you're saying. Actually, speaking of Deadmau5, I don't think it's NFT centric, but he's doing stuff with Cascade. Cool. I don't have a lot of. Sorry,
I just hope he releases a token soon.
just a token. Yeah.
Like, I think the most honest thing crypto can do at this point is kind of what BitClout did. Like, I really want to release an FMC token, and
There's
FMC
nothing stopping you. You could do it in the next hour.
I know, but then I have to go find a contract and deploy it to mainnet.
Isn't there like literally a site that's just like, I want this contract with this supply and give me this much, and I'm airdropping the rest? Like,
Well, yes, there is that I knew about before you even said that.
I think there's like almost like a service that just like, here's your shit coin.
Yeah, but won't people take me more seriously if a dev builds it from the ground up?
Yes, probably infinitely so. Honestly,
There you go.
what's the?
See, I care about
what
the
utility-
people buying my token.
What utility are we building into FMC coin?
None.
Perfect.
But isn't it just like a great name for a? First of all, who wouldn't want to own the free market capitalist coin? It's what all other coins want to be. Free market capitalism. Hey, this is telling you. Everyone
use
listening would buy FMC. I'll price it low. Just buy one or two for the fan.
One FMC equals one ETH.
I'll even make physical silver FMC coins. That would be dope.
All right, let's get into ApeCoin. ApeCoin staking has sort of gone live. They're in the deposit phase of it, and then it will begin emitting ApeCoin yield in the on the 12th. I believe that is Monday coming up here. So some interesting stuff going on there. This was long expected to happen. U.S. citizens not technically supposed to be doing it. They can't provide the tools for you to do it, but if you know what you're doing in terms of staking via the contract, you still could do it. So I guess at your own risk, and you know how worried you are about your local government caring that you're doing that. But you know, the people who are setting up the ape staking cannot assist you in doing that if you're a U.S. citizen. So far, 7.6 million ape have been deposited in there, and it seems to be an exciting part of it. Not all perfect, though, as it seems to be that, you know, you can they should have called it staping. There we go. You can stake your Bored Ape and Mutant Ape NFTs and emit a yield of coin through that too. But it seems like X percentage of coin is actually earmarked to each NFT. So if you sold that NFT while it's being staked, or didn't pull all of the ape coin out of it, you sell that part of the stake along with it too, which is caused some interesting dynamics that I'm not sure I completely understand because I'm not that smart. But people were saying essentially loans were taken out, buying an ape, repaying the loan after extracting ape coins. So I don't know.
I mean, I'm not saying I want to scam anyone. I just want a percentage of what you make every week without you expecting anything in return.
Wait, what?
Okay, so ApeCoin staking. I think Kobe wrote a great article on the prospects of ApeCoin staking. And if I'm not mistaken, isn't it because they wanted him as a consultant on their board or whatever? And he refused.
He did, yeah. He said he looked at the tokenomics of it and said it was rubbish and that they didn't want to change anything after the suggestions that he had.
Right. And he is enjoying the I told you so's today as one of the main points of what he was trying to say. Remember, if we get philosophically into what staking is, especially within the, cryptographic blockchain technology, it's a validation system, right? You're supposed to stake something of value so that you have a stake in the network and you validate transactions that way, right? So the idea that you can stake your NFT is false. You cannot, by the nature of how this works, stake your NFT. There are tokens, and I believe it's ApeCoin, representing the NFT that they stake for you. But it looks like your ape is staked. So if you sold your ape, the tokens linked to it would go away as well, which somebody found out when they sold their ape. So on a very technical level, and the philosophical purists, of course, this is not really staking. And, I think in the end, and this is something that I think Kobe misses because, you really have to be a believer to get your head around these things. It almost doesn't matter what the underlying dynamics are here. I think everything comes down to supply and demand. The Bored Ape Yacht Club continue great marketing, great products, and great demand. ApeCoin will go up regardless of how the staking is designed, what's actually staked, what's going on, all that type of stuff. Can they do that? We will see. But I don't think if you own an ape, whether you stake or not, comes down to like whether you understand microfinance, whether you're a great trader, whether you get smart, all that stuff that, of course, Kobe's a fucking genius autist nerd. This is the stuff that he does, and it gets him off. It's what he's looking for. He wants crypto legitimized through a great product that doesn't just take advantage of tokenomics, that leverages it and uses it right. This isn't it in that respect, but who cares? If Bored Ape Yacht Club can become a preeminent entertainment brand around the world, I am sure ApeCoin is probably worth more than it is today, even with staking involved. And if you own an ape, it's probably a smart idea to stake if you think they can do it.
Yeah, I mean, I've said this before, but like if I were to like own a 5 coin portfolio of ones that I think are going to do well in the medium term, ETH, Bitcoin, Doge, I would put ape in there, honestly. Like I do think that they still captivate all of this attention. And, I guess that I'm more bullish on the concept of a metaverse and believe in its legitimacy more than some people, because, even right now, as the boredom is set in, I think a lot of people are sitting back and going, all right, what was this metaverse thing actually? And I firmly believe we already exist in it, and we have for quite some time. This is just, the next version of it. I think that they're just going to be on the forefront of it. I think that they already have a leg up in it. They're well funded. The other side honestly looks great, and they have such a, like, Yuga, that is, has such a good knack of just building things that people want to be a part of. And I think that Ape is going to play a pivotal role in that. And like, you're right. I think that this Ape coin network is going to be worth a lot more than it is right now. Does that mean that it doesn't go down in the short term? Like, everything probably could. But I mean, looking at the total market cap right now, $1.4 billion. Like, we've seen plenty of shit coins on this list that, like, I don't understand how they're worth a fraction of that, let alone, double, triple, 10x. So yeah, I mean, ApeCoin is like one of the 5 that I would probably be buying a basket of if I was purchasing with outside money right now, which I might start doing pretty soon, actually. But yeah, go ahead.
I think that even in traditional tech, there is a debate around what people are calling the metaverse right now, largely because of Facebook's transition to Meta and the subsequent more than halving of their stock, which looks like an immediate response to that. Like, oh, they moved into this, very controversial technology that may not even come to fruition, and now it's biting them in the blah, 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 blah. I think that is such a dumb take. And even yesterday, you saw news articles about Tim Cook says he doesn't believe in the metaverse. Here's the technology Apple thinks will eclipse all of that, okay? And all they went on to talk about was augmented reality, as if that is not the metaverse. Like,
right. Yeah.
As R2 said, we are in the metaverse right now. All these things that people are trying to build that they call the metaverse, that's the metaverse too, but it's a very small part of it. I mean, it's just one part of this thing, this idea that we call the metaverse. Or we used to have a different name for it. It was called the internet. And there are 2 parallel tracks, both competing to get to the same place. You have traditional companies with closed gardens, I guess was the common term for a long time, in which they control everything, right? They control your info, they control your assets, they control all that stuff within the company. It's all about whether you trust the company to be, good stewards of this. Web3 is taking the other path. Yet they're both competing to go to the same thing. They're both going to this place that the media confounds and mislabels and all this stuff called the metaverse. But we're in it now. It's really, the question is, how is the internet going to evolve? And I think what Meta and Apple are doing are right. They may be early. It may be crude in its implementation right now, but so are NFTs, right? So is everything we do on blockchain right now. So,
and go ahead. Oh, okay. Yeah, I was gonna say I'm really just picturing, like, we talk about interoperability with NFTs all the time, right? Like, how do they function with each other? Like, how do these work together? To me, the metaverse is just the interoperability of all these different mediums too, right? Like, totally. Look at how we're existing right now. You and I are talking over the internet. We're doing a show, and there's people listening to it. They're interacting with us via a chat. They have their avatars. They have their pseudonymous names. Like, this is one form of the metaverse. We are existing in a digital state and having a conversation and existing, right? When you are on Twitter Spaces, I mean, you have a couple of people up there talking on stage. They literally called a stage, and there's an audience listening. All the little, PFPs are all there in a line, filed in there nicely, and everybody's reacting and emoting and all of that stuff. That literally is a metaverse, right? There's a digital existence with other people, right? And so, yeah, we are in a very rudimentary stage, and Meta, Facebook has positioned themselves in a huge way to be on the forefront of that. I think a lot of, now that, like, the more that I dig into it, the reason that Meta's stock has fallen so much is not, I don't think, I think people, for the most part, understand the bet that they're making. I think it's just the amount of capital that they're allocating it to it just seems absolutely absurd, and maybe not the best business decision. But that, that's not for me to say. And maybe Zuckerberg just believes that he wants to have the biggest moat possible, and he's willing to basically make it or die trying in the meantime. So. It's all very interesting stuff, but again, like I don't even understand how people can say the metaverse is a farce when we literally operate in it every single day, right? Like people are working from home now, doing Zoom calls. You basically have a digital office with Zoom. It's just what it is. We're just talking about a fancier version of all of that. So
Correct.
back to ApeCoin. I believe that in whatever Yuga's existence of the metaverse is, that is just going to be the currency, and therefore be much more valuable than it is right now.
Ape.
I guess really quickly before we get into Fantom Artifact, going through it, everybody, the concern that people had with this are right. There was the shoes that everybody was really excited about with the monolith drop, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, by the way, if you're not a U.S. citizen, you're not going to be able to get these unless you can find somebody that you can ship the address to, and they can ship it themselves. People were pissed, rightfully so. I think it was poorly thought out logistics on their part, especially because this is such a global community, and they know that. It seems to me that they've kind of rectified whatever issues they've had, and they're making it right. But CloneX taking the brunt, especially after the egg drop. We saw it at 9.8 ETH. The egg drop happened. It fell to about 7.5. It went as low as like 6.2 again. So definitely feeling the brunt of some of those decisions. I think there's also just a highlight of how bored everybody is right now and how quiet everyone is, because like this seemed to be like just the biggest deal. You know what I mean? Oh, CloneX or Artifact joins a long list of companies and that operate within Web3 that just don't fucking get it, and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, I guess I'm not a U.S. citizen. I don't know. What do you think? Hello.
Sorry, I was muted.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, is this that big of a deal? Or
Yeah.
I mean, I would get it if you bought something expecting to be able to get your hands on these shoes and you're in Europe. Like,
I don't even think I think this is Nike, and they'll make it right. It's a rounding error to them to make this right. So they don't even, they don't like what it's a pointless controversy in relation to the value of CloneX. Is it a fuck up on their part? Yes.
yeah, of course it is. I'm not arguing that.
Yeah. Yep, it's a fuck up that they should correct. Bottom line. But does this have any bearing on the long-term value of CloneX or the Artifact ecosystem? I don't think it does at all.
They look pretty dope, though. I mean, I don't know that
And in the sneaker world, people are talking about self-lacing shoes. All right.
Yeah, Air Mags, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a sneakerhead fantasy dream being able to come true, and it feels so apropos that an NFT company like Artifact it just feels so right.
Yeah.
Like new technology on the bleeding edge, and this is where we're getting self-lacing shoes finally, of course. Love it.
Yeah, they've been kind of working on that. There have been some iterations of them, but like not overly exciting. But yeah, man, these look sick. Have you seen those shoe displays now that you can buy?
Yeah, magnetic ones where they float.
Yeah, isn't that sick? How sick would that look with these?
Very cool.
Like just like floating right there. Now I gotta
my dream shoe has always been the Marty McFly.
The Air Mags?
Yeah, the Air Mags.
Yeah.
And the self-lacing air mag available to the public, like, boy, it'll happen one day. But
Well, they did a limited drop
I
of the Air
remember.
Mags
Yeah.
pretty recently too, right? They were not
Yeah.
cheap though. Oh, fun.
No, and finding size 12s that are
Jeez,
new.
you size 12?
Yeah.
Damn. All right, let's talk about Fantom. What do you got? Let's break it down. We're gonna go a little bit in depth in this token before we wrap it up. But this was something that Free Market has been talking about from a technical chart analysis investment for a while, and it was probably right around here that you were mentioning it. Maybe a little bit later, but doing pretty well. Its all-time highs were $3.46. So, in the midst of that early 2021 or late 2021, early 2022 bull run, Fantom did incredibly well. It fell to about 25, 24, 23, 22 cents. Oh, no, even after the FTX crash, we're looking at 17, 18
Yeah,
cents.
well, I bought it 17 and a half cents.
Right. Yeah. So I'm sorry, I was just looking at after the FTX
Yeah.
crash. But, this is a unique kind of L1 type chain. And it's unique in the sense that while it's a cryptocurrency, it's not exactly a blockchain. What did you find while you were looking up all of this stuff?
Yeah, it is built on top of the Opera mainnet. And they do have a multi-chain thing going on. Now, as R2 alluded to before I started talking, this caught my eye on a technical basis because as the FTX scandal happened and alts, of course, getting destroyed along with Spot, there were certain alts, of course, Doge being the poster child of it all, that outperformed the whole time and showed great relative strength. And it just makes you think that these coins are at levels in which either the people who were originally invested or people who are now reallocating funds that were in poor places into places that they think are positive. Now, the Fantom network, the Fantom token showed incredible relative strength. As we say, it went from 17 cents up to 26 cents during the FTX scandal. It's pulled back now to about 23, but it continues to hold up well, along with a few others that show great relative strength. So I decided to kind of dig down on what the coin is, what makes them special, right? Because I am notoriously bearish on alternative L1s. I see no reason for them to exist. I think ETH is it. And for ETH to scale, we will use L2s for the time being. And of course, Vitalik has his long-term plans. But the thing that makes Fantom unique is a type of consensus algorithm called directed acrylic graph. And the aim, and I'm quoting here, is to achieve asynchronous Byzantine fault tolerance, which has its own abbreviation of ABFT. So I assume it's some big deal within, the coding world about making these things we know as blockchain work. And I guess you wouldn't even call this a blockchain because they don't validate in blocks, right?
No, the validation system is not like all of the transactions get put into a block. Once the block is completed, the network secures it. And once it's put into that chain of blocks, it can never be changed, right?
Yep.
I'm also just going to make a slight correction on the DAG system, the DAG. It's directed acyclic graph.
Did I say acrylic?
Yeah.
I said acrylic, didn't I?
That's all right. No
Directed acyclic graph. Now, this is known as the Lachesis protocol. And again, it's a consensus mechanism that purports to make Fantom faster and more scalable. So we know the big issue with ETH is the scalability. It broke just because of NFTs when NFTs got popular and we were all paying for $400 gas to mint a $30 NFT, all that stuff, right? This is what their consensus mechanism is purported to solve. So that's why Fantom exists. That's why people invested in it, funds invested in it. This was started right after the last major cycle in 2018 by Dr. An Byung. Forgive me if I'm butchering that name, but it is built on top of Fantom's mainnet, which is called Opera. I'm sure some of you have heard. They brought on Andre Cronje, which if you, and I'm sure I'm butchering that name as well, but if you remember, he is the one who developed Yearn Finance, YFI, which was a big deal during DeFi and actually still lauded as one of the honest protocols out there, honest DeFi protocols out there. So this is a chain that seems to have a reason for existing. Now, whether that reason will prove to match their thesis, and this will be the blockchain that's, I mean, guys, it's a smart contract platform, right? Everything you can do on Solana or on ETH, you could theoretically do on Fantom. They have
the interesting thing. No, the interesting thing about Fantom is that it's EVM compatible, right? Which means essentially anything that's been developed on the network, the Ethereum network, can very, very easily be ported over to the Fantom network with like some very, very minimal coding changes, right? So in the incentivization system that they have, in which they reward developers rather than users of the network in the Fantom token, it's easy for a developer to say, hey, look, this looks like an interesting protocol. We could use this. The scalability of it is probably more in line with what we need for our development. And all that work that we've done on Ethereum is not for naught, right? Like it's basically just we can take it over to the Fantom network very easily. And when we talk about developing communities and incentivizing people to develop on blockchains, that's really important, right? Because you don't want to feel in debt to all of the work that you've already done, because maybe this new blockchain seems way more promising, but now we have to just start from scratch again. I think that was a really important decision that that Fantom made when making their system.
And you know, it makes it kind of a it makes it kind of an L2, right? A lot of Fantom's success is going to be on who they can court to come on over. Hey, look at what we do better. Look at how easy it is to come over. There's probably some very specific applications where Fantom could go court this company or this bank or this thing and say, look, it's compatible, it's easy. Can you do this? Due to these unique features like EVM and stuff like that, Fantom is the 6th largest blockchain by total value locked in its DeFi protocols, right? So, like I said, it's essentially a smart contract platform. They do DeFi, they do NFTs, all that type of stuff. They're the 6th largest by total value locked. Now, total value locked is one of the dumbest metrics when used the way it's normally used. But my goal in this exercise was to try to investigate why is there relative strength in Fantom right now, right? I'm not concerned with whether Fantom's grand thesis is going to work out, whether they're going to be an Ethereum killer or whether they can be a successful option that lives alongside Ethereum and does certain things very well. But I think what I do notice is there's a reason for them existing. Okay, the stuff that we've gone over, they have an angle, and people who are smarter than me, have more money than me, seem to think 17 cents is cheap, at least based on the relative strength that I'm seeing. I wanted to investigate why. Given where Fantom has come from right now, the chain sits at the last time I checked, a $600 million market cap. I could easily see this thing getting up to 2, 3, 4, or 5 billion with the proper news flow. What is proper news flow? Well, I was talking about Polygon and Matic making all these deals with companies and saying, look, Ethereum, is it, but it's expensive. And this is how, companies that have no idea what blockchain or how they're going to implement their products on it. Polygon goes in, courts them, and says, this is why you should do it this way. Fantom could do the same. Maybe that is why they have seen such relative strength. But from purely a marketing standpoint, Fantom is a great fucking name. Very cool. And purely from a technical standpoint, I love the chart right now, and I love the relative strength. Now, if Ethereum and Bitcoin collapse, if that next 10 to 20% move we've been talking about is down, this shit's going right on down with it. But I will be there to observe how much it goes down, right? Like everything has its own beta. Beta, I know it's used for a lot of different things, but in markets, traditionally beta is how volatile something is, how much it moves. So high beta stuff is things like meme stocks, right? GameStops and Doge, that's high beta because it moves around a lot. So when you factor in the beta and say, look, when spot goes up or down, it's probably going to move more just because it is higher beta. When you factor into that, is it still going to show relative strength if, say, ETH falls 20% here? If it does, it keeps me interested. And I'm willing to play along with narratives, not because, again, I believe in them in my soul and I'm religious about it and I think it's going to work out. But remember, markets in the short term trade on perception. They don't trade on reality. They trade on whatever narrative is the most plausible at the time. Remember, no one knows anything. No one can guess or know exactly what's going to happen. So narratives appear. And the narrative that seems plausible in the moment is what decides short-term direction. So I'm willing to say, okay, what could the short-term narrative be that drives this in either directions? And I'll get behind that narrative to capture the move. I'm not willing to get religious about Fantom, but again, based on all this stuff R2 and I have talked about with you now, it's literally the only coin I'm holding. I mean, I am much more in a trading mode right now, and I'm in and out. I mean, I was long Mask a day and a half ago. I'm not long it now. I could be long it again in an hour or whatever. I've bought and sold Fantom 3 times in the last few days just because, of playing the range and all that. But this is, I have 4 or 5 coins that I look at and say, okay, if ETH and Bitcoin do break out to the upside, who do I want to own to capture the most of that move? It's not Bitcoin and ETH. We know they're going to move the least compared to altcoins that actually catch that flow. This is one of them that's in there. I like the Fantom short term.
Yeah, I think there's some definite redeeming qualities about it. The one thing I would say is that like some of that scalability that exists in it is at the sacrifice of decentralization. There's only 50 validators on the network, and to become a validator, you do need 1 million FTM tokens.
I thought it was 3 million. Did I read that wrong? Where was it?
Well, what I saw was 1 million, but like it's still quite a bit. Now, however, you can, as an individual, stake your own FTM tokens into those validator pools, but 50 validators, not a lot on a network. That doesn't mean that it's totally insecure, but it's just the fact that it is not as decentralized or as secure as a network like Bitcoin and Ethereum. The other thing that I think is really important to highlight, and this is a screen that I've had up here for a while now, is that there is actually quite a lot of daily transactions going on the network on a consistent basis and still happening. Looking at yesterday, Tuesday, December 6th, there was almost 500,000 transactions on the network. It has an all-time high of actually 1.8 million. Now, whether or not that was just some kind of like huge exhaustive stress test is another question, because if you look at the Ethereum daily transaction charts, that's actually higher than ETH has ever had. The highest ever is 1.7 million on ETH, and that was back in May of 2021. So, ETH is consistently over 1 million transactions. Fantom, the fact that it's doing 500, 600, 700,000 a day should probably tell you that there's actually activity on that blockchain, and that should be encouraging. So yeah, I mean, if you're looking for some L1 plays, like this is not a terrible one to look at. I don't own any of it. I haven't traded it. I never have. But I mean, there's a chance that it could be something that I slowly start to stock up on as a longer term higher beta, as you mentioned investment. You and I obviously have very different approaches to, return on investment. Mine is more like sit and hold. But I guess the one thing that I will say, and the importance of why we decided to do this, especially when everything else is boring, is just that like being a maxi on one thing can be great, but you really do limit your opportunities, and you really can put yourself within an echo chamber, and that can be not the greatest thing to do, right? And I think that's important to pull yourself out of that comfort zone and just start to look at and dig deeper into it, and start to learn new terms, learn new ways that people are doing stuff and developing, and you might find an absolute gem. So yeah, I think this was pretty fun to just do a bit of a dive in there and start breaking it down.
Yeah, and the only two alt chains, I guess you could say three. Maybe we should have a talk on that next week. But the only two chains that I hear about an alternative NFT market springing up on are Canto and Fantom. And neither of them have gained any traction. They're not even.
I hear about Cardano and Tezos a lot.
Well,
I've heard people are starting to really get into Cardano.
Yeah, I know Tezos is the new darling of the art crowd,
right?
In NFTs. You are seeing a lot of posts about Tezos recently, and I've always said that Tezos is my second hidden folder. Anything I buy over there, I've never expected to be worth any money. Now, that said, those tend to be the things that one day you open and go, that's worth $15,000. Who would have thought? And it has that type of, this is the place that artists are going now because ETH is so blah, blah, blah. Certainly. Tezos is a contender. And I've always said that it's the artist's chain. I think that's going to be their niche, and there will probably be some amazing cooks in the future on Tezos. I don't think it becomes a PFP chain. So if cooks happen on Tezos, it's going to be because of art. But if it ever got popular enough, of course, the PFP scammers would move right on over to Tezos, I'm sure.
Tezos has been a bit of a wild ride. I actually was like this close in participating in the ICO of that. And that was back in 2017, I think was when they were first starting the process of it. Kind of glad that I didn't, because despite all of it, it like debuted at around $2 a coin or something like that. So you'd still be down 50% after 4 or 5 years of committing your ETH to that. So it wouldn't have been a great investment, but yeah, we'll see.
So I'm going to send you over the Fantom chart right now, because I think it's a nice exercise for our viewers. I do this all the time. Okay. Let's open up this chart. And the two lines that I have on a daily chart usually are the 50-day moving average and the 200-day moving average. Now, in traditional markets, why do we have a 200-day moving average? Because there's about 200 sessions in a year with the stock market, right? You're factoring in holidays and weekends and all that.
Okay. I actually never knew that.
Yeah, so that's why the number 200 was chosen for the day. So when you look at that, you can basically say that is the average price over the last year people have paid for this. Now, often when you see big moves in the market and you rush to Twitter or try to figure out what news, why is this thing going down? Well, what if we just looked at the chart and took the news out of it? Fantom ran right up into its 200-day moving average. That is the first time it's gotten that close to its 200-day moving average since the bull market, okay? It was natural that supply would come in here. Remember, any large firm TWAPing over the last year basically has an average price of 27 cents. It got up to 27 cents and it's pulling back. You don't need to know the news. You don't need to know what spot is doing, what macro. Just look at the chart. It looks like it's just responding to that magic line.
Yeah, it kind of looks like it did it both times here too, right?
Oh, it did not get as close to the 200.
No.
And remember, that peak you're looking at, that's the FTX scandal. when it peaked there,
This one?
okay, yeah, that little
Oh, yeah.
that candle, that's FTX happening. So maybe it would have gone up and tagged it.
Wow, a lot of volume into that too, eh?
Well, this is another great look at a chart, because when you're trying to pick a bottom, and we know that most people will caution you again, blah, 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 throw all those people. I'm assuming you're all degenerates and you love this stuff. So this is what you want to do. When you're trying to pick bottoms, the volume pattern is as important as the price pattern. And it's going to seem obvious when I say it, but what you want to see is big spikes on the up volume, and you want to see volume die when it has its pullbacks. And that's basically what you're seeing here. You see that when it moves, lots of volume going in, and then when it pulled back, the volume dies off. You can draw a trend line on the volume there and see that as it pulls back, the volume dies off. That's exactly the type of volume pattern you want to see in something that's trying to bottom. So this chart's a great look in a lot of ways. I tweeted out 2 days ago, Fantom getting close to the 200-day moving average. I expect supply to come in, watching that level. If we get above that level, it puts the 42-cent October high, April high in sights. So hit the 200-day, basically got within an eighth of a cent, pulled back. Now, the other important average is the 50-day. If the 200-day is a full year, you can figure out the 50-day is a quarter, right? That's why people care about the 50-day, because markets live on the quarter. That's when your earnings reports come out, economic data, all that stuff. So the quarter. Now, the 50-day moving average is doing something very good. It's aiming up, okay? That's another thing that you want to pay attention to, is the geometry of the lines you're looking at. Right now, the 50-day is pointing up. That's bullish. The 200-day is still pointing slightly down, but it's flattening out. All right. If the 50-day crosses through the 200-day, that's called a golden cross. That means short term, within the last 50 days, the price is now above what people have paid on average for the last year. That tends to initiate more buying. There's a saying, buying begets buying, and that would cause a positive feedback loop.
And then,
so
the reverse of that is the death cross?
Exactly. When the 200-day, exactly. When the 50-day crosses through the 200-day in the other direction, that would be the death cross. So the golden cross and the death cross. You're going to be hearing those a lot because, and again, my analysis may be off here, but I do believe markets are going to find support right around here. And the traditional market actually has a similar looking chart. That 50-day is turned up and starting to creep towards the 200-day. And if it even gets right up near it, you're going to see headlines like golden cross, market has golden cross. And of course, the golden cross being a bullish event, you can guess what's going to happen. The market will sell off because it will be anticipating the golden cross, buying into it. And the moment the golden cross happens, it will sell. Now, if there is a real bid, underlying strength underneath the market, that pullback will be bought. We'll get above the 200-day, and it will be the best signal of a new uptrend. Those are all ifs and buts. This is where we're watching it. If you were going to ask me where's the next place you should look for an entry, you can see the 50-day sitting right at about 21 1/3 cent. So we're in the middle of that range. Now, that is not saying that it cannot reverse here, go up, and never look back. I am just saying that you have a lower probability trade when you buy in the middle of a range than when you either short the top of the range or buy the bottom of the range. And it's funny, most people tend to fuck with the middle of the range because you're undecided. When it's at the top of the range, you don't feel bearish. You're not like, oh, I want to short. All of a sudden you feel bullish. You're like, I can't short this line. We're going to blast through it. I feel bullish. And it's the same the other way. When we're at the bottom of the range, it's like, oh my God, everything's about to collapse. I can't buy. It's good. You need to flip your calibration and go the opposite. All right. So if we get back to that 50-day, I think that's a great place to get aggressive again. We're in the middle of the range right now. If you buy, you're kind of flipping a coin. But, if you were bearish at 26 cents but got scared because it looked so bullish and it was going to break through. Now you're like, oh shit, it is bearish. I should short. We are going down. But guess what? We're at the middle of the range. So those guys could get killed because we could reverse. And bulls could get killed by buying the middle of the range because it's very likely we go back to the bottom of it. So I wouldn't be aggressive unless we got to 21 1/3 cent. But if we look at macro markets, we are right near support. So I could see everything bouncing here, at least very soon.
Perfect.
Great technical look there on that chart.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Always look relative. Yeah.
All right, I do have to actually wrap it up now. The dentist is not literally calling, but calling my name. So wish me luck. Just a standard checkup and cleaning. Always fun to go there.
Speak your name. That was an Oprah line. She used to say on her show, like, people would come on and cry and be like, no one ever just noticed me, and I was and we'd be like, Grace, we speak your name. On the all the whole audience would go, we speak your name. It was like very culty and weird.
I was gonna say that sounds cultish too. I've never really watched Oprah.
I haven't even seen it. It's from Howard gets clips. Like Howard Stern will get a clip and he just loves it. He'll turn it into a soundbite and he'll play it at appropriate. And I say it all the time. I say, we speak your name. Anyway.
Perfect. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Episode 173 is in the books. Nice little conversation about the markets. Blur, Aoki, and Blau forming a punks group. ApeCoin staking is in the process of going live. It'll be fully live on the 12th, so we'll see what the outcome of that is in terms of the price of ApeCoin. Talked a little bit about Artifact, and then we did a deep dive into FTM, Fantom token, Fantom network, all that great stuff, and then finished it off with a little bit of a technical analysis on the chart, which is not something we normally do, but if you guys think that that's of value and you want more of that, of course, we're always open to suggestions and listening to you while we're chatting with you. So on that note, I do have to run, but free market, say it on words.
Good luck at the tables, you beautiful degenerate.